Hi, my name is Spencer Jones, and this is my audition tape for Breakthrough Collaborative. Okay, guys, so what we're going to do today is we are going to learn how to write a focused, productive research question for a research paper. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the purpose of a research paper, we're going to talk about how to cater it to a specific audience, and then we're going to collectively make up a group of research questions on the process of state legislation. I just picked this topic so we can do it as a group, and then after that you guys are going to be responsible for writing your own research questions on topics of your choice. So before we get started, let's talk about the purpose of a research paper. Like, why do we write a research paper? And just in general, separate yourself from state legislation and just why do we write research papers? Anybody? Diane?
To persuade.
To persuade, exactly. To persuade, to convince our audience that something is true or serves some other function, to persuade them that it's important. What else? Holly?
To investigate into a new topic that you don't know much about.
To investigate into a new topic. And I really like the way you said that, Holly. To investigate into a new topic. One of my favorite teachers in school always told me that the best research paper will investigate into a new topic and will provide answers, but will also provide new questions. So a big thing that we want to make sure we're doing when we're writing research papers is not only giving out a whole lot of information and persuading an audience of something, as Dinah said, but also creating new questions that we can further explore and just keep going deeper so that our learning doesn't ever really stop, right? Okay, any other purposes for writing a research paper? Let's contextualize it a bit. Why should we write a research paper about the process of state legislation? As 7th graders, as middle schoolers, why is it important for us to research how state legislation works? Dinah?
So we can understand it better?
Right, so we can understand it. I mean, we're going to grow up and be citizens in whatever state we live in, right? So we need to know how state legislation works so that we can vote correctly for the things that we want to vote for and be informed about what's going on and the laws that are being made in our state, right? What else? Anything else? Maybe to educate other people, like maybe your parents even don't know exactly how state legislation works because it's a complicated process, right? Like it's a long process of making a law, so it's a hard thing. So that's one reason to investigate it. So let's talk about audience. How do you choose who your audience is going to be when you're writing a research paper? Besides yourself and besides your teacher. Obviously your audience is your teacher because you're going to be writing a research paper for me. But who else? Reed?
People that don't know about what you're writing about?
Yeah, people that don't know what you're writing about. Exactly. I'm going to just abbreviate here. People who don't know about your topic. What else?
The person that you're trying to persuade?
Yeah, the group that you're trying to persuade, exactly. Yeah, that's a great answer. Let's see, what else? What about, okay, I'm just going to stop writing. What about, so like think about it in terms of state legislation. If we're writing a research paper about state legislation in California, is somebody who lives in New York going to be super concerned with our paper? No, probably not, right? Because they're not really going to be affected by laws that are made in California typically. So it's people, you need to think about the people who are going to be affected by what you're writing about, the people who have some kind of stake in what you're writing about, or people, like if the topic is going to make a difference in their lives. So that's the way to cater a research paper to your audience. Right, okay, so let's focus a little bit more on state legislation. So let's decide concretely on an audience for a research paper about state legislation. Who can we educate about state legislation?
People who don't know anything about state legislation.
People who don't know anything about state legislation. typically young people, right? People like ourselves. So we are doing this to educate our friends, maybe people who are younger than us, maybe groups who come up in school behind you guys would be able to read your research papers and understand a little bit more about how state legislation works. Great. So let's see. People who don't know how state legislation works. That is great. All right, so let's work on actually framing our research question, because state legislation is a pretty broad topic. So what exactly do we want to know about state legislation? This is completely up to you guys. Yeah?
How is the state law passed?
Yeah? Great. Love it. Number one, how is the state law passed? What else? What do we want to know? What do we want to know about the process of passing a law?